By this time, we all know that this webinar is mainly focused on Synchro 11 and its new feature. But I would like to give you a little background about Synchro, because it might happen that there are listeners who are listening to us are listening about Synchro for the first time, or they are thinking using Synchro in their projects for the first time. So it's better to have a little background before I jump in and show you the new feature of Synchro 11, okay? So Synchro Studio. Synchro Studio is a robust, easy to use traffic signal analysis software. Here, I mentioned this is a traffic signal analysis software because this is what Synchro was originally made for. But in today's date, Synchro also supports unsignalized intersection as well as roundabouts. Synchro allows you to analyze, optimize, design, model, simulate, and animate both signalized and unsignalized intersection. Starting from version 9, Synchro also allows you to compute trip distribution and trip assignment for TIA analysis. So when I talk about Synchro, this is actually only a product of a whole suite of products, which we called Synchro Studio, which obviously includes Synchro, which is our flagship product, and today's presentation is mainly focused on that, which allows you to design, model, and optimize traffic signal infrastructure. You also have SimTraffic, which is a micro simulation tool. It actually allows you to simulate real-world vehicular and pedestrian traffic scenarios. So when you purchase Synchro, you always get SimTraffic, or when you purchase SimTraffic, you always get Synchro. They both comes together, okay? Beside these two, we have another product which called 3D Viewer. You could buy it as an add-on of Synchro plus SimTraffic, which is kind of a 3D viewing tool, right? What it does is it actually takes your two-dimensional models from SimTraffic and create a three-dimensional animation, which is great for presentation. Although no analysis is happening there, but like if you want to present your work to someone, the stakeholder, or maybe the agency guys, you can actually present that through the 3D viewer as well. Beside this three product, we have another two supplemental modules, which are warrants and TripGen. These both products you can buy as an add-on of Synchro Studio, or you can buy it completely standalone, because they could actually use as a standalone product. Both warrants and TripGens names are quite self-explanatory, right? Warrants helps you to evaluate a network of intersection according to MUTCD guidelines for signalization, as well as it allows you to do the warrants for all-way stop control intersection, okay? TripGen allows you to calculate the expected number of trips based on the data from IT trip generation manual. The latest TripGen supports the IT trip generation manual 10, which is their latest as well. However, we also support IT TripGen manual 9 as well as 8. So that like if someone thinks that they need to back up a little bit, they can do it through TripGen as well, okay? Synchro Studio have been in the industry for more than 20 years. It combines the deterministic modeling tool Synchro with microscopic simulation tool, which is SimTraffic, and which I just mentioned in my previous slide, right? This is a very easy to use software, and it's highly adaptable to many different scenarios. Starting from version 11, Synchro supports multiple scenarios in a single Synchro file. It supports multiple different analysis methods, starting from HCM 6th edition, HCM 2010, HCM 2000, percentile delay method, ICU, which is intersection capacity utilization, and especially the percentile delay method is Synchro's own percentile delay method, right? And SimTraffic also actually allows you to actually run the simulation as well as create the reports out of your simulation, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna jump in and start talking about Synchro 11. Synchro 11 has released on December 9, 2019. It comes with a new level of convenience as well as improved productivity. Okay? Synchro 11 introduces global being map as default synchro background and much anticipated scenario manager. So now in version 11, when you open up the software, you will see that it default to the being background instead of the solid background you used to see in the previous versions of Synchro, okay? Which increases the efficiency of coding a Synchro network without putting any extra effort into importing and scaling the background image. It also assures that this Synchro network is properly scaled and follows accurate latitude and longitude. In other side, the scenario manager combines similar multiple scenarios into a single file format, which simplifies the electronic file management while also reducing your development time and as well as maintenance, right? A significant benefit of scenario manager within Synchro 11 is the mitigation of coding errors, which is very common when you are managing multiple files with similar data, right? Like this is very common with Synchro user that you have like multiple different timing plan like AM peak, PM peak, midday, off peak, right? But you have the same network, but you have just different timings and different volumes. On that case, you need to actually like deal with so many different Synchro file with exactly same geometry, right? Synchro 11 that actually mitigates that for you, and there is a solution for that, right? However, with Synchro 11, it also allows you to quick switch between scenarios. So if you have, let's say, AM peak, PM peak with completely different timing and volume, and you want to actually check like how different is one scenario to another, right? And we have a quick switcher so that you can easily switch between scenarios to compare between them, okay? So let's first talk about Bing map in detail, and then I'm gonna go ahead and talk about scenario manager afterwards. Okay, as I mentioned, now when you open Synchro 11, you will not see the solid green background, what you used to see in the previous version. Instead, you will see the Bing background, and a search bar will open automatically for you. What you need to do is you just need to type in the location where you want to have your network, okay? And then hit the search button from here or hit enter from your keyboard. And it will take you to the location of your network. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna draw the first intersection. You could draw multiple, doesn't matter. After you draw the first intersection, there you'll see there is an option, and this option will help you to fix the network with the map, because at first position the network will not be stick to the map. You need to come here and fix the position. And to actually avail all the options of Bing map, you need to come here, like as you can see on the left hand side, Synchro 11 introduced a button called Bing. Anything related to Bing map, you just come here and avail the options from here, okay? You know what would be better? Let me open up the software for you and walk you through the process. Sometimes like, you know, like it's easier if I demo it for you and you get the information from that. So let me do that. Okay. So, okay. So now when you open up Synchro, you will see a screen like that where you have the Bing map, okay? So I just open it. You see, now you don't have the green background. Instead, you have the Bing background, okay? Now, if I click here, it should automatically open up for me, but I just like click somewhere. That's why it just close it down, but it should automatically open when you actually first time open Synchro. Now let me actually put a location where I want to have my network. So let me put 522 Hamlin, Sugarland, Texas, whatever. I'm gonna hit here and it's gonna actually take me. Oops, sorry. To the location where I want to be, okay? Now, let me draw an intersection for you. So this is where I was looking for. Now, let me draw an intersection. This. Let's see that I wanna draw these three intersections. I'm gonna draw this. Then I will draw this. I'll draw this. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you put the geometry information, the timing information, volume information, it doesn't matter because I already draw a node which I will create an intersection in future. I can actually start working with that to fix the network with the Bing map. So now if you actually use the panning tool, you will see you can move the network very easily. Okay, so the network is moving. Why is that? Because like, let's say you first draw a network and you want to actually like displace it a little bit, like able to have like more accuracy, maybe you need to, you know, drag the nodes and other stuff a little bit. That's why actually we keep that option here. So let's say I actually displace it a little bit and adjust it. Now I feel, okay, this is the location I want to have my network. I need to, oops, sorry. I need to come here, and here there is an option called click to anchor. If I hit the button, the network is actually anchored with the map. Okay, so now it's completely set up. You're gonna go ahead and put the other information here. Okay, and at some point if you realize, oh, you now need to adjust it a little bit, just come here. It will change it to black and white. Now you are ready to actually adjust your network. To fix it, again, come here, click it. It will change the option to blue and green, and you can actually change it easily. Okay. After doing this, the first question could happen as even like as a user, I would ask the first question that I have the previous versions, like I have 10 or 9, and then I used the Bing, I have a Bing map region already used there. Is it like compatible with 11? How can I, you know, like match with that one completely? So if you have the previous network from the previous version, let's say it's 10 or 11, you could actually open up in 11 very easily. Just open it in 11, it will open up. However, if you didn't check up any map region previously, it will not open up here. The map will not actually show up. However, if you use the option we had in previous version, which is like Bing map region, and you already actually define a reference point there, if you open it up in 11, you will actually find your network in the exact place you actually reference your network in the other version. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. But again, like if you didn't actually set up any reference point, no problem. You're gonna come here and start from the beginning to locate your network. Your network will be there. You just need to locate it in spite of the like in terms of the Bing map, right? So let's actually open up two network. I want to show you also the backward compatibility. Like if you have a Bing map, if you have a network with a reference point, if you don't have a network with a reference point from 10 to 11, how can you actually switch between that? So let me first open up a file where I know that I didn't have the I had a reference point. So this is what I have a reference point. I actually name it like that. So if I open in Synchro 11, this exactly open at the same place. I actually set up the reference point in 10 and it open when I open up in 11, it exactly open up at the same place. No extra work will be needed. And if you hit the Bing button here, you will see that this button, the anchor button, is green and blue, meaning that network is already anchored. I don't need to worry about that at all. Okay, so if you have a reference point, don't worry, open it up. It will take you to the correct location as you set it up in your previous file. However, it might happen that you never use that function. You never use that Bing map referencing. Okay, no problem. If you go back, and I have also that example here on that file, I didn't set up any reference point. So if I select that and open up in Synchro 11, it will actually open up in a random location, right? Like now it doesn't match with my background anymore. What I need to do is I just need to search for the location where I want to have my network. So let's search for it. I think it was somewhere in East Front Street. I hope I searched for the right place. Sorry, I actually clicked somewhere else. So okay, so yeah, it actually takes me like very close to where I want to have my network. So what I want to do is I want to just drag my map, drag my network to the map. And when I feel, it's matches, I'm gonna come here and click. Now I'm good to go, right? No extra effort, just search for the location, hit the search button, fix the network with your Bing map. You are good to go, okay? So that is all from Bing map. Let's see what next. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about is Scenario Manager, okay? So Scenario Manager allows you to have multiple scenarios in a single Synchro file, right? So with Scenario Manager, you can save multiple similar scenarios in a single Synchro file, okay? So which will kind of like allow you to reduce the time of actually managing so many different files with the same network, right? So that's a very big benefit of Scenario Manager. Scenario Manager also provides you the option to change the timing plan for each scenario separately. So now you have the option that you can have completely different timing plan in your each scenario. So you could have like M peak, PM peak, off peak, or whatever, maybe the existing scenario, the future scenarios with completely different timing plan. Similar to timing plan, it will also allow you to have completely different volumes in your each scenarios. Okay, so it's normal, right? In your off peak, you have like less volume, and in your AM or PM peak, which are the higher peak, you will have more volumes. So you can actually accomplish that now with Synchro 11 completely as in the same file. You don't need to worry about so many different files and manage those. Okay. As I also mentioned, that you need to have a same geometry, or you need to have the same network, and that's the initial purpose of Scenario Manager as well. So let's say you want to change a geometry, like let's say you want to add a lane, or you want to drop a lane for some reason, you need to do that. So you just need to do that changes in one scenario. So if you change that to one scenario, the other scenario will automatically get synced with the changed geometry. So in terms of geometry, you don't need to go to each scenario and change it. You will do it once, and the other scenarios will take it from there. Okay, so you don't need to do any extra work for that purpose. Okay, so after you have like many different scenarios, it's like warranted that you need to switch scenarios and you want to see the changes and stuff. So in Synchro 11, we introduce a button here on the menu at the middle of the Synchro that you can easily switch between scenarios. Okay, so I will actually open up the software for you guys, and then I'll start from the scratch to show you how it works and try to demo you as much as possible so that it's really understandable to you. Okay. Now, to actually avail all the functionality, you need to come here, what Synchro introduced called as a scenario manager button. So you need to click that and it will open up the scenario manager window for you. Okay, so let's see what is in the scenario manager window. We're gonna actually first talk about that. So when you click the scenario manager window, it will open up this. Okay, so now what is here? So if you see this button, if you click that, it will actually expand all the available scenarios. So right now in this screenshot, I have like 3 scenarios. So if I actually hit that button, it will actually open up all the scenarios with all the description. Okay. And if you want to collapse it, like you just want to see the scenario name, you don't want to see other description, you just click it and you will see only the scenario name. Okay. This is for the whole window. We also have these 2 other buttons, which is per scenario. So let's say right now I have all the scenario expanded, and for some reason I just want to see that my PM peak will be expanded. I don't want to see these 2 scenarios expanded. So by clicking that, I can actually collapse these 2 and I can only show the description of the PM peak by actually using this collapse button. And if I have collapse button, you will see like when the scenario is in a collapse level, the button will change it to expand so that it will allow you to again expand, like if you are considering actually individual scenarios. So these are like little shortcut for expand and collapse. This little button, which is actually the delete button. So you need to actually delete individual scenarios separately. So if you want to delete, let's say off peak, you just need to come here, hit the delete button, and Synchro will actually pop up that if you still want sure to delete the window scenario, you just need to press yes or no based on whatever you feel right for you. So you're gonna do that. Okay. However, you might notice that here in the first scenario, I don't have any delete button. Okay, because this scenario is active. So with active scenario, it will not allow you to delete. You first need to deactivate the scenario, then it will allow you to delete that particular scenario. So what is actually active and deactive, right? The next question obviously would be that. So in Synchro UI, you can actually show one scenario, right? You have single volume entry window, you have single timing entry window, you have like all the entry windows are single for the single scenarios, right? Because even like if I allow you to actually open up so many windows together, it will be a like clumsy situation there, right? So what we actually come up with the idea that you can active a scenario, you can just active a single scenario. So let's say right now, if you see that in your scenario manager window, this is active, meaning whatever you see in Synchro UI, whatever data you are seeing, is actually related to the AMP. Okay, and now you might want to actually activate your off peak and see the data. What you need to do is you just need to hit that button called activate. So when you click that button, it will change it to active, and whatever data you will see in Synchro UI will come from the off peak. Okay, so that activate button you will use to active a scenario. Okay, and this is the indication that AMP is activated and whatever data you are seeing is coming from AMP. Okay, beside this, you have the scenario description. This is actually similar to the scenario manager or scenario properties window you had in the previous version of Synchro, which is like 10, 9, and else. So this will be helpful like when you are, right now it's very helpful because you can actually see the time, the date, and the other information. And also it's helpful when you are creating your report, if it's come from your AM peak or PM peak. What is the alternative? What is the timing plan ID? So I would actually suggest you guys to fill in the information as much as you have. If you don't have any information, that's separate story, you can just name it. But like if you have the description, you can put it here. This is for the date and time. If you have any alternative timing plan ID and analyst, like you could put your name, or your agency's name, your consultancy's name. It's completely up to you, okay? After this, you might notice there are two tabs at the bottom of this window. The first tab is duplicate. So this is very important. Why is that important? Again, the backward compatibility. So let's say you are actually using you might have like bunches of 10 files or 9 files, what you want to open up in 11. So, and you have a single scenario, right? So when you open up a single scenario, let's say you have a file mpeak, okay, and you have all the data there, and you open up it in 11, you'll have a single scenario. But now you want to populate your other scenario as well, right? So the first thing you're gonna use is the duplicate scenario. So you will open your first scenario in 11 from the previous version. You duplicate that scenario so that you have all the information duplicated to your new scenario. You have the same network, what you want, right? And now you can just like merge through the UTDF transfer, the timing and volume information from the other file. Let's say the other file is PM peak, and you pull in the data and your scenario is ready, right? So that is very important. Also, as I was talking to the backward compatibility, I think it's worth mentioning about the save individual scenario. This is also very important from the end of backward compatibility, as well as like if you have like, if 2 or 3 of you, your colleague together are working in the same project, and maybe you are working on AM peak, another person is working on PM peak, the third person is working on off peak, but you don't want to share whole bunches of like scenario file, you just want to share a single file, you can do that. So if you hit the save scenario, it will allow you to save a single scenario in a 11 file. Also, it will allow you to save down a single scenario, because the previous version of Synchro doesn't allow you to have multiple scenario, right? Because it doesn't have that ability to actually deal with multiple scenarios. So on that case, you can just save down to it maybe 9 or 10 and send that to your colleague, or maybe it happens that you are actually working with a partner who doesn't have upgraded to 11 yet while you are actually using 11. So that like you can just like save down to the 10 or 9 and send the file to them so that they can utilize it. They can use whatever they want to do with the file and send back to you, and you can again merge in with your main file, okay? And there is another option called copy data from. So you can also transfer data in between. So if you want to transfer something from AM peak to off peak or off peak to PM peak, you can actually utilize that option. Copy data from one scenario to another, okay? But don't worry, I'll actually show you everything as a demo. I just want to like explain first what each button means, and then I'll actually jump into the software and show you things, okay? Now, as I mentioned so many times, that you need to have the same network, right? And you can have completely different timing, completely different volumes, even completely different network setting in each of your scenarios. However, sometimes it's tough to remember which is actually the scenario data and which is actually the network data, which is actually shared across all the scenario, right? We made that very easy for you by introducing these two little icons. So if you, in 11, if you open up what I actually mentioned in my left side, the network settings, map settings, lens settings, etc., which are the data entry window, you will notice that we introduced two new icons. So whenever you see the icons like that, where actually two squares are overlapping, or two boxes, you could say, overlapping each other, meaning that these parameters or this data is shared across all the scenario. Meaning, if you actually change it in one scenario, the other scenarios will also get that change data, okay? So it's mostly, not mostly, it's all about the geometry. Like if everything is touching to your geometry, you will see that it's indicated by that. So that like when you are in a data entry window, it will actually warn you that if you change something, it will change it to your other scenarios as well. However, if you see that single box, this is actually per scenario, meaning if you change it to in your one scenario, it will not affect your other scenarios, right? Like for example, like I mark here what, like PM peak hour factor. So if you change it like in AM peak, if you change something here, and it will not take by the other scenarios, you can go there and change for them, so that you can have completely different value in your completely different scenarios. So I think the other like traffic volume, conflicting paid, heavy vehicles, all are actually falls under this scenario property. Okay, scenario specific properties. Okay, so let me go ahead and open up the software for you. What should I open? Yeah. Okay, so now what I did here, I actually open up a 10 file in 11. Okay, so this was actually one of my 10 files. This was, let's say, from PM peak, and I actually open up in 11. So now if I actually hit the scenario manager window, it actually populate the data what I had from my scenario properties. So previously I used the scenario properties to fulfill the information in my 10 file. And when I open up here, it will open like that. Actually, I think somewhere I changed that. It was previously the scenario 1. So by default, it will name your scenario to scenario 1. And then, sorry, something is like, I think the getting a little slower. Okay, yeah. So now, so this is what you supposed to see, like a scenario 1. Maybe like I was doing something and I changed the name, but if you actually open up for the first time, you will see it will default it to scenario 1, and it will fill up the information what you have in your scenario properties. If you didn't have anything in your scenario properties, it's simple, like you will not have the actually data here, the extra data. But like if you have it, you can just come here and fill in. But if you don't have anything, don't worry, you can just like fill in here easily. So let's start doing the work. Okay, so let's say I have a 10 file, I open it up and it defaulted to scenario 1. Now I want to change the name. So I want to change the name to PMP. As I know that this is actually the timing plan ID is PMP, so I'm just like using that little shortcut. Sorry, for some reason, it's actually taking time. It shouldn't though, but just bear with me, maybe because of the connection and stuff. Bear with me, please. Yeah, okay, it's done. It shouldn't take that long. Trust me, for some reason, it's like maybe for some reason it's happening, but don't worry, it shouldn't take that long. No. So now I'm gonna actually create some other scenarios from my PMP. So let's say I wanna, okay, I wanna create a AMPIC scenarios, okay? So I'm gonna select the scenario from where I wanna duplicate it. So when I select it, and it's automatically active, right? Because like I have a single scenario, so obviously that will be the active one. So when I select that, I come here, it's showing me that duplicate PMP. If I had multiple scenarios, whatever scenario I selected, the name will actually appear here. So now it's showing me that duplicate PM peak, and now I want to actually name my new scenarios. So my new scenarios will be MPIC. Okay. Now description. Okay, I'll keep it as a MPIC as well. Date and time. So we have a calendar selection where you can select your date and time. So I want to have my AM peak from the same date. So I can see this is somewhere from 2019 September. So I want to hit 24, right? It was, yes, it was 24. And it's, as it's a AM peak, let's say my AM peak starts from 8. Press OK. Now I have new date and time. And the timing plan ID is AM peak. And I'll keep this empty, like I could fill it in, but for demo purpose, I'm not filling so many information, and hit duplicate. I swear it's some network issue. It's getting slow. It shouldn't get that slow though. Okay, so now I have the AM peak data, right? So although PM peak is active, if I active AM peak, I need to hit activate. Please bear with me. Yes, so now my AM peak is activated. However, you might notice that the data are exactly same, right? Like here, actually, like I have what? Like I have volume. I'm showing, I think, the volume on map as well. Also the node numbers, whatever. It's exactly same, right? Because I just duplicate the scenario. I didn't change anything. So let's go ahead and change something. So as I mentioned that you can have completely different volume, completely different timing. Let's go ahead and change something and see if it's really true, right? So volume. Okay. So now let me change something here. So let's change the northbound through. So it's like 1049. Let's change it to 700. I am actually focusing on the single node right now. So this is like 69. And I will change this. I have no clue why it's that slow. It shouldn't. It should be very fast, very fast. Okay, so now change it to I believe this is happening because of the network, because I am actually not in my local, so that could be the issue. Let me do one thing. Let me open up the file, my another location. Sorry for that. So if I
Hey, Charmin, I know since we're all working from home, a few of us may have connection issues. So if we can't get it to work, I will be sending out a follow-up email with helpful resources.
Yes, trust me, it is the network issue. I swear, because like this is happening for the first time to me. It never happened. It's so fast. Okay, actually, I try to open it in my locals. So let's actually try that if it makes us faster, okay? So let me duplicate it very fast. I was somewhere in September. It was 24. Okay, sorry, I want to change the date time as well. Okay. Yeah, I think it was the network issue. Like, because I was like in my network, so I just like download it to my locals. So now it should be fast. Sorry for the inconvenience, guys. So let me activate the AMPIC. Now I was about to change the volume. So let's, what I thought 700 and I thought 1000. Okay, now let's also change some timings. What could we change? Okay, so let's change the turn type. Okay, so now I have permitted for fun. Also change something under phasing settings. What should I change? Okay, the recall mode. Let's change the recall mode from max to min. Okay. Now let's find out if it's changed correctly. So what I was talking about first, I was talking about the volume. So I changed the volume from the northbound and southbound from like, it's now 700 and 1000 in AM peak. So if I activate PM peak, you have completely different volume, right? This is 776 and 1049. Okay. Now let's see how the timing changes. I will also show you a little shortcut here. So now I am in my PM peak. How do I know that? I could know from here. So if I click it, I see that PM peak is activated. I could also know from here, like I told you, right? We have a little scenario switcher. So here it's showing me the activate scenario. Whatever you actually see here, it's your active scenario, okay? So now in my PM peak scenario, my northbound and southbound left are actually the protected. Here, you can easily switch between scenarios as well. If you click that, you will in the drop down, you will see all the available scenario you have. Right now, I have only 2, so that's why it's only showing me 2. But if you have multiple, it will also show you that. So let's say now I want to see what's going on in my AM peak. I'm going to select here. It's actually changed it, right? Now it's permitted. Both the southbound and northbound left are permitted. Okay, it has like completely different. Also, if I change to the phasing setting, what I change my westbound through and eastbound through the recall mode to minimum. If I go back to PM peak, it's maximum, right? So that's how you can have like completely different timings and completely different volume as well, right? So this is actually a little shortcut so that you don't need to come back every time to scenario manager button and, you know, activate or deactivate it. You can easily switch it from here. Once you are done with all the configuration and when you are just think about the results and analysis and switching between scenarios, you can just do it from this little shortcut, okay? This is one thing. And another thing I want to mention about this, let's go back to the volume settings. This small shortcut or small icons. So if you hover on those icons, it's showing that whenever you have this button, this is actually shared across all the scenario. Whenever you have this button or these icons, this is actually scenario specific property. So let's also check out that. So now I am in my eastbound. So let's say instead of 2 eastbound left, I want to have 1 eastbound left. So now I am changing it to PM peak. So if I change it and if I switch to AM peak, you will see it's also got changed. Meaning that you need to have the same geometry all over. So if you change it in one scenario, it will automatically change to the other scenarios. Okay, so that's a little icon which will actually give you the idea of what's going on. Okay, so now we actually learn about the duplicating. Now let's learn a little bit about the transferring data between scenarios. So now what I can do, let's actually create another scenarios. So what else I can do? Okay, let's actually duplicate AMP. Now I'm gonna duplicate AMP. So duplicate AMP, because I select that, if I select PM peak, it will show me duplicate PM peak. So as I decided I'm gonna duplicate AMP, I can click that and my new scenario name will be midday. Okay. So I would also use the same date. One PM is my midday. Let's assume, okay? Okay, so now a new scenario has been created called midday, and it's exactly the same as AM peak. So if I activate it, this is AM peak, right? So now let me, this is already AM peak. Now I know that my AM peak, what is that? So this is southbound through vehicle is like 1000, but my PM peak, because it's also showing up in midday, because this is exactly the mirror version of AM peak. But if I activate PM peak, this is 776, right? So let's try to transfer the volume from PM peak to midday. Let's say for some reason you decided to do that, okay? So what I need to do is I need to come here, copy data from. So I need to select the scenario from where I want to transfer data. So as I mentioned that I want to transfer the volume data from PM peak to midday. So that's why I first select PM peak. Now it asks me to copy data to, meaning in which scenario I want to copy the data from PM peak. So copy data to, if you actually select the drop down, you will see the rest of the scenario except the scenario from where you are actually copying data are actually open up here. And you can select both scenarios. Like if you select AM peak midday, both scenarios will be selected, right? And you can actually transfer data to both scenarios. But as I mentioned, in this example, I just want to transfer the volume data from PM peak to midday, not to AM peak. So I will select only midday. Now it will show you what data you can transfer. This is timings, volumes, network settings. Let's say, as I mentioned, that I want to transfer volume only. So I'm going to click it, hit copy. It actually shows me the confirmation that the data copied successfully. I'm going to press OK. Now, if I click midday, it should actually show me the volume equal to PM peak, right? Rather than AM peak, which I duplicated the midday from. So if I activate midday, voila, see, this is 776. It's just like transfer from PM peak. Okay. So I think this is all about what I want to show about Scenario Manager. And also, let me go back to my presentation, see what else we have there. Okay. Okay, SimTraffic, which is another important thing, right? Like SimTraffic also supports actually the scenario manager. So if you actually you have all the data in Synchro and then you switch to SimTraffic, you will also see the data already taken care by SimTraffic. Let me also show it to you. It will be nice to show you. So now, as I have all the data and I just hit SimTraffic. Okay, yeah, I want to save it. Not a big deal. So now it's open up SimTraffic and you see that in Synchro, I had the midday activated, and in SimTraffic also I get the midday data first. But if you actually click the drop down, you can see the AM peak and PM peak. If you actually hit AM peak, it will again like record your AM peak, and then you will have all the data come from the AM peak, similar to PM peak. Okay. Also, the calibration parameter of SimTraffic, you can change in between. Okay. So let's say in your AM peak, maybe you have more reckless driver. In your off peak, you don't have that much reckless driver. Whatever you want to change it, you can have actually, you can have that option to change it per scenario as well in SimTraffic. Okay, so this is also supported by Scenario Manager. That's the message. Okay, so now let me close it and come back to Synchro. So optimization. Here, another little changes we made. So if you are actually doing optimization, and if you already actually check the option previously, like when you are actually doing the optimization, there was an option that while you are doing your optimization, you could actually save your each iteration of the optimization in separate Synchro files, right? So let's say, for example, in this window, my optimization will start from 130. With 10-minute increment, it will go to 150. So on that, I should have one iteration with 130, another with 140, and then 150, right? Previously, we had an option that while your optimization is iterating, you can have different Synchro files you can load in and check it. But with Scenario Manager, you don't need to actually have multiple Synchro files. If you want to have these 3 different iterations in your single Synchro file, you can just hit that options, which called actually create scenario for each cycle length. Okay, so if you click that option and hit optimize, now I am in midday. Okay, also make sure whatever options or whatever operation you are making in Synchro, it could be merge, it could be UTDF transfer, it could be optimization, you are always doing it to the active scenario. Okay, it will not affect the other scenario at all. Okay.
Hey, Charmin, we do have just a few minutes left of the webinar today. So we're getting near to the end of the hour, and we have some questions to answer as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Brooke. Like I'll take maybe a minute, and then I'll go back to the question answer round. Okay, that works?
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So now you might notice that you have midday 130, midday 140, and midday 150. Okay, so that's it. And also we introduced another option in the transfer section in the March file. So let me actually choose another. So previously, this is exactly same, but if you have a scenario which had multiple scenarios, you will have the option to choose from whichever scenario you want to actually merge in the information. Okay, but if you have a single, it will only show up that single scenario. So yeah, that's I think all about from my side from the presentation. Now I'll be up to Brooke. Brooke, could you read the questions for me so that I can answer?
Yes, thanks, Charmin. We have a question from Dean. Dean wants to know, is there a summary table of the difference between the scenarios?
Do you, if I understand your question correctly, if not, can you please repeat it again? So I feel like you are actually talking about the comparing between the results. If you are talking about comparing between the results, yes, we do have that. So let me actually again open up it for you. So if you hit report and come to intersection, you'll see there is an option called scenario comparison. If you hit the summary and if you actually select the scenario from like you want to compare, click it and preview it or print it, you should actually get the summary of the results. Okay, out of if you create the report from these 3 different or like 5 different scenarios, doesn't matter, you just need to select the scenarios. Okay, and if you preview it, let me do that. Okay, so you should actually get the multiple different comparison between these scenarios.
Charmin, to follow up on that, how about the input data?
Input data, you need to actually, you need to go with each grid to see what different scenario you have. But like you can just like simply transfer it to the UTDF as a form of CSV so that you can easily compare the data. But for the input data, we don't have any other summary table that you can compare between. Okay, so it's because it's a user input, so you just need to go with the grid and see what are the difference in the input data. Yes, Brooke?
All right, do we have any other questions for Sharman? You can send us a message through the chat, or you can click on the Q&A. And we'll give people just a few moments here to ask any questions they have.
Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions.
All right, Sharman, I think we're good. I don't see any other questions coming in. I'd like to thank everyone for spending time with us today to learn more about Synchro 11. As I mentioned earlier, this presentation was recorded, so I'll be following up with everyone to share the recording and some additional resources from Sharman.
Yes, so let me add some more things. Like if you have any concern about the purchasing and pricing, we have the email address, which is like trafficwaresales@cubic.com. You are most welcome to send us your questions there. And if you have any questions, I already try to answer you through the webinar chat. But if you have any additional question, you can actually follow up with the Trafficware forum as well as the support. Okay, so that's the help and support materials from our side. However, thank you so much for your time and attention. Hope you all have a safe and healthy life ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you.